Modern Gamer here once again, and I thought I'd revisit the world of Little Big Planet, but not for my normal reasons. Today I'm going to be doing somewhat of a tutorial on how to make certain things that most Little Big Planet makers, well, level makers, who have like really great ideas, they don't know how to do certain things and they just kind of they don't look up tutorials or anything like that because I don't know. But yeah, this is partially for L&T Productions, who, if you saw him, he even played some of his levels called Paintinator Chronicles that were fairly bad because he didn't know how to do certain things. So I'm going to show you how to do some of those things, and hopefully maybe even L&T could make some more levels. So yeah, so first thing I'm going to start off with is a controllable sack. Now of course the first thing you need is your standard sackbot. For best, I suggest you choose animation style sack boy. That way, someone might not even be able to tell that they're just controlling a sackbot. You can choose a skin for the sackbot, but most of the time, I choose copy player 1. That way, the player will be there. They will basically have their skin on the sackbot that they're controlling. So I'm going to need the circuit board, and for this one I'm going to do can swim. You don't need to do that, it's just something, and if I end up putting in water into the level, the sackbot will be able to swim. So as you can see right now, the sackbot. So the first thing you want to do is get out your controlinator. Normally, what most people think is the controlinator is a device, if I can find it, simply, there it is, for objects. But no, with the right technology, you can use it also on the sackbot. So first off, you want to set the one on the sackbot to remote control receiver, which means its commands are all received from a different controlinator. So that sackbot could be controlled to any controlinator I put on the same frequency, and this is the frequency color, so I'm just going to start off on blue. Now next up, you can't just simply place down another controlinator somewhere. Of course it needs to be placed on a block. Personally, I like using the hologram block. But the thing is, like, you may be able to control the sackbot, but you will not be able to control the camera. The camera is always over where your player is, which is why I'm going to make it that's a pretty much a see-through block. What you want to do then is, you can't actually make these any smaller. But yeah, you want to place your other controlinator on here, and you want to set this to transmitter on the same frequency. You also want to set the trigger radius to the sackbot. It doesn't need to hit that controlinator up there, just needs to hit the sackbot to work with the sackbot. Although this will be following him around, so I really only need it to have a radius of that much, but it won't really matter. I'll set it to automatic enter, because sometimes, well, I won't. Sometimes it can be very annoying. Visible in play mode, I want to set it to no, so you can't even tell that you're controlling a sackbot. At least as well, but of course, like I said, the camera will still be where you are, which means that would have to follow him in order to have you also seeing around where the sackbot is. So the first thing you want to do is place down a tag onto the sackbot. Now it doesn't matter what color you pick for the tag. You can even set it to blue. It wouldn't matter for the controlinator's frequency. But just for this, I'm going to set it to teal. Now that it's set teal, I can go over to movers and select the follower. Now there's a bunch of different followers. Make sure you just click on the normal standard follower. Now because I might want to put extra technology onto this later on, I'm just going to simply put the follower small there in the corner. It's attached to this object, so this is going to be the object that's moving. I want to set the max speed. Now, this isn't going to mean it's going to like go forward and so fast that it might fly off or anything. No, that just means it will constantly be on him. The acceleration, I tend to keep it at 50%. It shouldn't matter too much. The range shouldn't matter unless, for whatever reason, you're starting this off like a mile away. Of course, you don't want flee rather than follow. You don't want it. But follow tag or character. Well, you want this to be following tag simply for this. And because the tag, I set it to teal, I want to set this to teal. Visible in play mode, no. Now you can see it is following around him. If I click on this, I also follow him. If I move a layer, I follow him as he moves a layer. Now, in case you're wondering, in preview, you don't see anything besides that triangle and then getting to move him around. So, yeah. So that's how you make a simple, controllable sackbot. Fairly standard. I think it's something that pretty much any little big planet maker needs to know, but what about making a sackbot that has the same powers as if you're making a giant mechanical robot? So maybe you're making some sort of level where your character only has so much health. Well, for one, yes, you can put the counter just on. You can set it up set with a certain enemy or something like that. I'll show you how to set it up with a certain enemy and everything afterwards. But as good as that may be, personally, I think it is a bad idea to just simply put the counter on the sackbot, because I personally think it's a bad idea, because if it's just simply on the sackbot, then the player won't actually know how much health they have. So if you're thinking the same thing, you're thinking, oh yeah, I want the player to know how much longer till they are dead. Well, the first thing that you're going to want is you're going to want to put a tag. This is going to use another follower. Now, because you don't want his health bar, you want it to be somewhere around above his head. Now, it's fairly hard to get it stuck above his head and following him, which means it is following this tag, which is higher up. And as you could tell, I moved the follower farther down, so the follower will hopefully be higher up, meaning the tag will be even higher up. I'll make this tag, I'll keep it at yellow, so it doesn't have any problems with this or anything like that. Which, if I didn't, it would. Well, that tag wouldn't have a problem. It would be the health bar that'd have the problem. So now I'm going to make this fairly small, like that, and then set its brightness all the way down, animation speed to 0, and then on it, I will place down my counter. Where's the counter? There you go, counter. Now I have a player health bar, but clearly I can't just put down a player health bar there. Player health bar will need to be on a bigger surface, like that. Put it down there, I can actually shrink this a bit. Actually, shrink that about to that size, but make the counter about that big. I'll put it up here for the purpose of the next step, the follower. So now I just simply put the follower down there, set it all the way up, and if you use the D-pad or directional pad, that's the same button for doing like the happy face, the frowning face on your actual character, you can increase these numbers a lot quicker. Now, once again, I set this to tag. Because I set that to green, I want this to be following the green tag. Now, if I close out of this, what should happen is he has his health bar above him, but as you can tell, you currently can't see the health bar, which means you have to make sure on electronics and table visibility, you want switch visible. If you do switch and tables, the player will be able to see the wires coming out of it, which you don't really want. So you just want switch visible. And the switch is the counter. So now if I do that, you can see his health bar clearly above his head. Now, currently the health bar has no point at all. So next up, I'm going to do a simple enemy. And now, first thing that you want to do, of course, start off with another sack bot. But unless you're making some sort of PvP thing, you do not need to make this controllable. It actually needs no controllinators at all. It's a fairly simple creation, really, making this. So I'm going to start off by making him have a angry face, have his behavior to be set to follow. I'll have him also be hostile. Next up, I would set look at tags, yes. And I'd set him towards the blue tag because on him, actually I don't want him set towards the blue tag, I'm sorry. I meant he needs to be set towards a teal tag because the main player has a teal tag on him. Now, of course, I can't just leave him at this. First off, I probably want to give him a skin. So I will give him something like maybe this. There you go. So now he has a skin. So now we need to make it send when he attacks, your health bar goes down. So, your character, first of all, needs to have a tag sensor. Why a tag sensor, you might think? Well, LNT had a problem with this in particular. When he was making his enemies, he couldn't use something like an impact sensor because they died as they walked. But when using a tag sensor, all you have to do is put the right color of tag on whatever for projectile is going to hit him, and then the tag will activate, making you take that damage. So, I of course don't want to set it to infinite, but you don't want it to have too long of range, otherwise enemies that are a mile away are going to be hitting him. So I'm going to set it for that for now, and for now this enemy will end up being a melee attacker. So the tag color that it's searching for will not be green, because on one thing I already put down a green tag. I'm actually going to use the color red. Also, you don't really need to fumble around with anything else in here. You just want to set up the radius. Next up, I need him to himself have a red tag on him, which means he will activate the signal as if he was a red tag. Now you could put this red tag on projectile objects, and whenever it gets close to him, of course if I were going to do projectile objects, I might want to increase the range on the tag sensor to go to his head, so be about there. So, and all I'd have to do is put that red tag on any projectile being shot at him. I don't think this is paused currently. Now, because I'm in there, I don't think he's going to attack quite yet. But now that he has that, I need it to be the red tag, activate that, right? Well, you may think that, but the problem is that he's either constantly taking damage or he's going to get hit once and then not get hit again. Which is why you want to use a timer in between the tag sensor and the counter. So, if I can just find it, a timer, so I maybe want him to take the damage every second. So that is going to start it. Whenever it hits the end, it's going to reset itself, and that's important, so in that way it will actually be able to hit multiple times, so it has to reset the timer. You need to put that into increasement, and of course the counter doesn't need to have anything like that. I'll give my main character 20 health, and each increasement will automatically by default be 1 health. Now, I don't know exactly how to do many of the other things, such as making enemies do more damage, having your main character have more health, but I'm going to set this into preview, do that, and as you can see, every second, your character is taking 1 hit point of damage as his health is slowly going down. So, that means that everything worked perfectly. His health was getting damaged. Now, you gotta remember that if, while testing this, you hook this up to a kill switch, you have to remember that when your character dies, you would have to rewind. In rewinding, you can never truly be sure that everything that you had is still there. Which is why, whenever you're going to put a kill switch on anything, you save it beforehand. So now, I have an enemy that does damage. But this enemy does not have health of his own. Now, a player knowing their own health bar is very important, but a net player knowing an enemy's health bar is not quite as important. Of course, if you really want to, you can do essentially a similar thing for the enemy's health bar for the player to be able to see the enemy's health, but that particular one is not quite as necessary, although if you do want to, you at least do already know how. So once again, for this I'm not going to need a timer because my own attack will have a delay. So I just need to simply hook this up to increasement. But of course I don't want the green tag because I have a green tag on his follower. You have to remember you cannot use the same tag twice. Otherwise, bad things can start going wrong. So I'm going to use the yellow tag. So that way, he's not just going to take damage because I walked into him, like what I did for him. Because I can't do the same thing, because you want the player to actually be able to attack, not just run in and the enemy starts taking damage. Now, despite the fact that the bar may still look there, I can assure you that the current time is still at 0 seconds. It's only because it is paused that it looks like that. Now, because I've now put this yellow tag on him, I need the player to be able to shoot or hit him with something with a yellow tag on it. So for this example, I will use a simple thing that will look like a slashing motion. Now to do this, you can do this any way you want. There's no certain way that you have to do this or should do this to make it look right. But for this, I'm going to use that little thing there to represent a slashing mark. I'm going to put a tag on it that, if you can guess by now, is going to be the same tag as his tag sensor. Of course, the tag is not going to be visible in play mode, which means the player will not see that tag. That tag needs to be, I'm pretty sure I set it to yellow. So yeah, I can now see this yellow tag got close to him. He'd take damage. But I made a mistake. Right here, you can see the fall where his damage range is. I shouldn't be able to hit him from, the player shouldn't be able to hit him from that far away. So I'm going to decrease it to around that much. If you want, you can have it the same as the players. You can do more work into that, but I'm just going with simple basics. Now I'm going to copy this. Now, although the tag does not appear, I can assure you the tag is there. Now, all you have to really do is put an emitter set up with an attack. Now, as far as attacks go and telling a player how to use a certain attack, I am not certain in the slightest. But I can assure you that your enemy will take damage if you make his attacks work like this. So first off, well, not first, but I will need a emitter, wherever they are. Need to use this emitter. Now, it may not look right, but putting that emitter there is the right thing to do. If I put that there, then that is the same thing as an emitter being on the sack person, even though you can't actually place an emitter on a sack person. Now, for this, I think his slash is going to go out there, and for him, because I made the slash go out there, just in case this little backdrop here could possibly get in the way, make it send when it attacked, he doesn't actually attack. Next up, I need to use this tag sensor to its full advantage. So, how I have things set up right now is, well, I can set up everything for his slash and everything. First off, I actually need to set up his health, which I think 5 will be a good number. Okay, so next up is actually making it send his attack, well, attacks. Actually, I almost forgot something. His tag sensor, as you can see, goes out 3 layers. It's actually just what I wanted. That should work perfectly, although, actually, just for the sake of, I've had a problem with this before. If you put an emitter to emit out on an edge, 1 up, it will actually fall off the cliff. So I will have a slash there. Now I'll test if that works. A lot of this is going to be trial and error. You can never be quite certain with Little Big Planet. Now, of course, if you go all the way over here, I can get a sound object, which I'm going to want as well. I'm going to want to find, a slashing sound. Now, you might want to look for someone else when it comes to putting sounds in, as I am not very great at that one in particular, and I've been actually trying to work on it. But I can help you get something that should at least sort of work. So you would need a slashing sound. So of course, none of these are going to probably work. I haven't actually done this particular, there you go, spike impact. You can use anything you want. I'm going to use spike impact. Next up, I will drag out this. Let's say spike impact. I don't want it to put it on something like R1 because that is the grab button. If you ever do anything that needs the grab button, that'll be a problem. Now I don't know how well this works, but I can change the prompt name to slash, and I'm not quite certain, but I think this will mean that on the bottom it will tell the player how to slash. Now, of course, I'm not sure of this. You can test this yourself, find someone else who does know, but as far as I know, that's how it should work. So now if I do all this, delete this one, but I almost forgot that slash can't just hang around. That slash actually only needs to last a second, maybe even just half of one. And of course I want attack speed at 1, actually 1.5. Well, yeah. Maximum it at once, I will do 1. So you can only slash once. And then, yeah, so destroy all those. No. And visible in play mode. No. Now I have a setup sack person. I'll turn on preview, play the game. Oh crap. Do this, and now if I do this a couple of times, yeah, so of course you can modify this however you like. Does not need to work like this at all. In fact, I need to increase his hitbox because you can tell he's currently standing just outside of the hitbox for my character, which means you can really cheat the game, which is why you test things before you fully finish them. So I need to turn this down, need to turn this down, and of course I need to check, did my slashes lower his health? And yes, in fact, those slashes, if I were to put a kill switch on him, would have killed him, but I didn't because I don't want to destroy him. I just need to know that things work, because if I kill him, then I need to rewind, make sure all the technology that I had was still there, and before I could proceed. So that is a basic tutorial on how to make a sack bot with its own health that can attack with an enemy. And yeah, so you can do this of course with projectiles, anything really, using minor adjustments. This was partially for Larry of LNT Productions because he didn't actually know how to do this. So, and I hope this helps him to make levels again. But this was also just simply to show people how Little Big Planet's basics work. So yeah, I have been Spartan Gamer playing Little Big Planet 3 and teaching you how to do things in the game. I hope you enjoyed. Leave a like. And Larry, if you're watching, tell me if this helped out with any of your levels. I would really like to know, and I want to hopefully see you release a level soon, because I have been working on one using these exact machinery. So